Did you know that your name was mentioned at a very special moment recently? Yes, something that carries your essence was shared with an intensity you might not even imagine. It wasn't casual nor superficial. It was something laden with emotion, almost as if the person who spoke was feeling your presence there, even though you weren't. And the impact was real. The words used about you had a weight that made the people around stop to listen, to feel. The one who mentioned you did it for a greater reason, because what you represent is something that cannot go unnoticed. And that's exactly what I want you to reflect on. What in you has so much power? Do you realize how your presence, even at a distance, can transform a moment, touch people, create connections? This isn't about what you did or didn't do. It's about who you are, about the meaning you carry, even in the details that you might not see in yourself. And now knowing this, what do you think was really said about you? Have you ever stopped to think about the impact you leave on people, even when you're not around? Because clearly that happened. Your actions, your words, or perhaps just your essence were remembered with an intensity that only someone who truly marked something deep in another person can cause. The curious thing is that often we have no notion of how we leave parts of ourselves in others. We live our days, make decisions, move forward, but we don't realize how what we are echoes in unexpected situations. And that's exactly what happened. Your presence, even absent, was so strong that someone couldn't hold back and needed to bring you into the moment. Not by chance, not out of obligation, but because there is something in you that calls, that grips, that leaves a mark. The most intriguing thing about all of this is, do you recognize what you carry? The depth that exists in your way of being? Because whoever spoke about you did so in a way that leaves no doubt about the impact you have. It wasn't just words. It wasn't just an empty memory. It was as if every detail about you was loaded with meaning, with truth, with something that could not be ignored. Now imagine being there, hearing these words. How would you react? What would you feel knowing that without any effort, without being physically present, you were able to cause this kind of emotion? And more than that, why did this person feel so compelled to bring you to the center of something so important? This says much more about you than about the person who spoke. Because this memory exists only because you left something, a mark, a sensation, a gesture that was not forgotten. And now knowing this, what if you could retrieve this part of yourself that you might no longer even see? If you could realize how much your essence has meaning, even when you are not actively trying to be remembered. What was said about you is not just about the past. It is about the present, about what you still represent, about what you continue to be, even in moments when you might feel distant or disconnected. And this brings you an important question. Why do you think you left this impression? What do you think about you was so strong that it remained alive in the memory and heart of the person who mentioned you? The truth is, often we are the last to see the value we carry. And perhaps this is one of those occasions when the universe gives you a reminder, a tangible proof that you are more than you perceive, that your story, your energy, or even a specific moment left something that resonates in others in a way that you do not control, but that exists. So I ask you directly, can you accept that there is more to you than what you see in the mirror? That what seems small to you can be gigantic for someone else, because the one who brought you to light at that moment saw something that could not be silenced, something that needed to be said. What you need to understand now is that this was not by chance. This person did not choose to mention you on a whim, a distraction, or a fleeting memory. It was something bigger. It was as if they needed to bring your presence to that moment, even if it was just through words. Something about you left a profound mark, something that made you necessary at that moment. You may not realize it, but the way we touch people is not always obvious. Many times, an action you considered ordinary, a word you said without thinking, or even the way you simply existed, made all the difference for someone. That difference is what brought you to that moment, even without knowing. And now I ask you, do you have any idea what you carry within yourself? Of the impact you have on the lives of those around you? Because it's not just about what was said about you at that event, but what it represents. It's as if life is showing you something you may not have been seeing or chose to ignore. Think for a moment, who would you be to the people who crossed your path? What did they take from you? Can you imagine how much of your energy, your essence, still lives in memories, in feelings, in moments? you didn't even realize you left behind. Because what was said there, in that place, was not about what you lost, but about what you left behind. What if now, at this very moment, you could revisit who you are through the eyes of those who truly see you? Because clearly, whoever mentioned you there saw something worth remembering, maybe something you've forgotten yourself. The question is, why can't you see yourself that way too? I know that sometimes it's easier to disbelieve, to think it was a fluke, that it's not that significant, that people just say things to fill the void. But deep down, you know that's not it. You know that whoever brought you to that moment did it because they had something to say, something that came from the heart, something that couldn't be hidden. And here's the question: what are you going to do with that? Are you just going to ignore it and continue as if nothing happened? Or are you going to look inside and try to understand why you are so significant, even when you don't realize it? Because honestly, it's not just about knowing that you were remembered. It's about understanding why that happened. Accepting that even without realizing it, you have something special. Something that people notice, even when you don't notice it in yourself. And you know what's even more interesting? That this kind of impact, this invisible force you have, is not something you need to create. It's not something you need to prove. It's there. It always has been. And maybe what you're lacking now is just to open your eyes to it. Accept that you are more than you believe, that you carry something that leaves traces, even when you don't realize it. Now think again about what was said. Think about the words, the emotion, the meaning behind all of this. What do you feel? What does it awaken in you? Because I can imagine that, perhaps, it brings a bit of discomfort. After all, it's hard to accept that we are seen in ways we don't always allow ourselves to see. It's hard to accept that even when we think we are invisible, someone is seeing us. And more than that, someone is feeling our presence. So I ask you again, why do you think you were remembered? What about you made this person bring you to that moment, with so much strength, with so much intention? Can you look at yourself now and start to recognize what you may have ignored for so long? Can you start to see that there is more to you than what seems obvious? Because from the moment you understand that, everything changes. You begin to realize that every gesture, every word, every choice you make leaves marks. And that these marks are often much bigger than you think. That your presence in the world, even when it seems small, is felt. And that even when you are not there, you are still present. And more than anything, this gives you an opportunity, a chance to reclaim what you left behind, to revisit who you are, to start realizing that even in your failures, in your moments of doubt, in your insecurities, you still have something valuable, something that for someone is impossible to forget. The impact you left is not a choice of others. It is a consequence of what you carry inside you. And the most interesting thing is that many times, the value you represent to someone is not something you control. You may not even remember the moment you left that mark, but for that person, it was enough to transform something, to provoke a change, to become unforgettable. Now imagine what else you could have caused without even knowing. What other moments you were present, maybe even unintentionally, and left someone different from who they were before meeting you. Think about the conversations you had, the looks you exchanged, the small gestures that to you may have been insignificant, but to another person could have been everything. This event that brought your name to the surface is just a reflection of what you mean to the world around you. But let me tell you something you might need to hear. It's time to stop ignoring this. Because by denying the impact you have, you're not just underestimating yourself, but also the people who see you, who feel you, who trust you. Those people who mentioned you at that event did so because they needed your presence, even if only in words, to be felt there. How can you simply ignore what that means? This isn't just about the past or something that has already happened. It's a call for the present. A reminder that you are still that person who left marks, who was capable of evoking emotions, of creating connections, of transforming. But are you living as that person now? Are you honoring what you carry, or are you hiding it, burying it under layers of doubts and insecurities? The issue is not what was said about you. The issue is what you will do with it now. Because deep down, you know there is something inside you that deserves to be recognized, something that deserves space to grow, to shine. It's not about ego. It's not about feeling superior. It's about accepting that you matter, that you are part of something bigger, that your presence, even in small details, has value. And if you're trying to ignore this, I'll be direct. Why? What prevents you from accepting that you are important, that you have meaning? Maybe it's the fear of not being enough, of not meeting expectations. But let me tell you something. None of the people who spoke about you at that event were thinking about your flaws, your mistakes, the moments you stumbled. They spoke about who you are in the best sense. Because that's what remained. That's what matters. And here is the crucial point. Are you willing to face this head-on? To acknowledge that even with the imperfections you believe you have, there is still something in you that cannot be ignored. Because the world already sees you this way. People already feel it. The only person who still seems not to see it is you. Think about what this means. Think about what you are missing by refusing to accept what is so clear to others. Because in the end, what has been said about you is not just about the past. It is a reflection of who you can still be, the impact you can still have, the marks you can still leave. The moment now is decisive. This is where you need to look at yourself and make the choice you have been avoiding for so long. You can no longer ignore what has been said about you, what you represent, the impact you have caused and continue causing. This is not about what others think. It is about who you really are and how you decide to position yourself from now on. Have you ever stopped to think about what it means to be remembered this way? It's not just a casual memory, but a reflection of what you have left behind, of what you still leave behind. It's like a sign, almost as if life is yelling for you to wake up, for you to realize what you carry within yourself. Because no matter how much you try to hide, how much you try to minimize who you are, the world keeps seeing it. And the question is, why? Why do you insist on not seeing it? This disconnection from who we are can be suffocating. It's as if a part of you is constantly trying to get your attention, but you're too busy looking around, comparing, judging, putting yourself down. And meanwhile, the people around you can see what you cannot, the strength, the essence, the importance that you have. And this became clear when they mentioned you. It was not a random choice, it was not just a coincidence. It was a reflection of who you are, even in moments when you don't feel enough. Life is offering you an opportunity now, an opportunity to stop, breathe, and look within. Can you feel this? Can you perceive that this is the moment to truly connect with what is inside you? Because deep down you know there is something there that needs to emerge, something that can no longer be ignored. And I know this can be uncomfortable. Facing who we are, recognizing the impact we have, accepting that we are important to someone, often seems scary. Maybe you're thinking right now, but is this really about me? Am I really all that they say? And I want you to understand something essential. The doubt you feel is normal, but it doesn't erase the truth. Because while you doubt, the people who see you know exactly the value you have. So, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to keep feeding these doubts, these insecurities, or are you finally going to accept that there is something in you that can no longer be ignored? I know the choice isn't easy, but it is necessary. Because the world is already recognizing you. People are already feeling your presence, even when you don't notice. You just need to allow yourself to feel this too. Now, I want to extend an invitation to you. Share what you are feeling. I want to know how this message resonated with you. I want to know what you think about its impact, about what was said about you and what it means for your life. Right here in the comments. Let's talk about it, because your voice matters, your story matters, and sharing it can not only help you, but also inspire other people who are going through something similar. And if this message touched you, if it made sense to you, subscribe to the channel. Because here together we can explore these issues further. We can discover more about who we are and how we can transform the world around us. Don't let this opportunity pass. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any content that helps you continue this journey of self-discovery. And of course, leave your like. Do not underestimate the power that a simple gesture like this has, because every time you click the like button, you help this message reach more people. People who, like you, may need this reminder, this wake-up call, this invitation to look within. Now pause for a moment and think, what are you feeling at this moment? What did this reflection awaken in you? Don't let it pass without acting. Don't let it remain just a vague thought. Turn it into something real, something that moves you, that leads you to see who you truly are. You are more than your doubts. You are more than the limitations you believe you have. And I want you from now on to start looking at yourself with the same intensity that the world already looks at you. That is the least you deserve. So make your choice. Subscribe, comment, share, and above all, remember, the world needs you exactly as you are. And you too do.